Hey y'all, let's get into this review of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 20, titled Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And if you enjoy this review, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So we're back, with Martell and Chris talking shit about Marsau and how he wouldn't have anything without Martell or Melody. And then in his confessional, Martell says that he would have had a conversation with Marcel if he thought that it would go somewhere. And says that, they have been cool for a while and the conversation could happen, but he doesn't want that BS that Marcel be doing when he talks, and he just wants, to get straight to the point. I can't lie. I agree with Martell because everybody says the same shit about Marcel and how he just be doing too much sometimes. He be thinking it's funny and it's not. But then Marcel tells Chris and then that he's 41 and he still feels like getting a little froggy if you're not being a real friend, basically. And in so many words. And then Chris is like, okay, Mayweather. And then they laugh or whatever. And now we're with Letitia and her daughters, and they're packing orders from their little hair care business. In her confessional, Tisha says that they have been working on that for the past 4 to 5 years. So she's excited, and then she's letting her daughters know how skilled they will be in business when they get older. And both the daughters just rolling their eyes because they probably hear this all day long. But then Macy says, yeah, that's cool and all, but what about the money? I know that's right, girl, because what they be talking about, oh, this, that, and the third when it comes to business, but I want the coins. Um, but then Marceau comes in all doomsday, and in his confessional, he says that he wanted to come and show some support and checking on the girls on their first business endeavor, and wants them to understand that this pop up isn't personal, it's business. And I'm like, here he go trying to steal all the joy and the fun out of what they're doing. And then he's coming in there trying to change up everything, complaining about the setup. And I'm like, stop trying to slave them kids, Marcel. Like, I don't like that. And then Tisha's like, girls, go ahead and take a break. And Marcel's like, what's going on? What? Like, Tisha, you and the other lady are doing all the work. And in his confessional, Marcel says that the reason he stopped by is to keep the kids slaving, basically, just like chop, chop, Harriet. And then Tisha says that there needs to be a balance, otherwise it won't be fun for them. And Marcel is just basically not trying to hear none of that. And then he tells Tisha that if they're trying to build mini moguls, that they have to put in the work. And then Tisha explains how their daughter Macy is worried about the money, and so Marcel can handle all of that. And then they segue into talking about that awful ass town hall thing. And Tisha says she just didn't feel like there was any positive feedback. And then Marceau says that it wasn't all negative. And then Tisha asks him how he felt about the whole conversation. Well, no, not about that whole conversation, but how the conversation went with he and Stormy. And he says that he just matched her energy for real. It says that went and hugged him. She set the tone for how the conversation was gonna go, and then the little smart remarks. I don't know why it jumped like that, y'all. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it like blinked out for a second. But anyways, Marcel was like, even Stormy's little smart remarks she was making, it was just too much. So he was just trying to match the energy. Oh, and by the way, y'all like my black and proud shirt? Oh, wait, let me get the camera. Yeah. Don't censor or block my video, YouTube, because I know how y'all. But anyways, um, and then they show the clip from the town hall thing when Stormy just kept calling him a bitch, all kinds of bitches. And then Marcel says that his energy changed toward Stormy after that. I can't disagree because I mean I get it. Sometimes when y'all go into business things, it's not gonna always be like, oh, let me dab you up or whatever. And because I don't want to say it's a woman thing, because not all women hold grudges or anything. Not all women be like, oh well, I'm not feeling this right now. But I feel like that's just stormy. So yeah. But then Tisha says that she and Stormy met up at Black to talk about the town hall, and she mentioned to Stormy how she and Marsau were poking at each other, and then how when she was calling him out her name, and then in the clip, Stormy asked Tisha if it bothered her that she kept calling Marsau out his name, and then my whole thing was, why do you have to ask a grown woman if she was uncomfortable with the fact that you kept calling her husband out his name? Like I don't, I just, I feel like they were just both kind of. It's a power struggle thing. I tried to explain it last review. I feel like it's because Stormy got is a higher status. I feel like it's a classism thing because the Scotts right now got this whole lawsuit going on, and Stormy got all this money. She got a ranch because she like to throw money around. Because y'all forget that she did that shit with Destiny, and I feel like Stormy like to throw her bag around and her name, and I feel like Tisha is just a little like intimidated. I don't know, and Marcel's not feeling it, and I could be wrong. It's just the energy that I'm getting. But in the clip, Tisha says that it was very disrespectful that Stormy was calling Marsau out his name, and Stormy asked Tisha if she would like her not to do that. And Tisha says, yeah. And Stormy tells Tisha that if it bothers her, she's going to work on it and she's not going to say it again. And Tisha says, thank you. And then Stormy explains to Tisha that she grew up in a family that's real raunchy like that. And she says, candidly, she's been a bitch since she was 4. I don't know what the fuck that got to do with anything, but she apologized for calling him that, and that's that. But are you gonna apologize to him in his face because he is the one that you called his name? You didn't call Tisha out her name, and yet she still want to be friends with your dumbass. I don't get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you want to be friends with somebody who's called your husband out his name? Anyways, Um, Marsau tells Tisha that no grown woman is going to call you a bitch in a business meeting without um, an extra desire for you to react, and he wasn't going to give her that satisfaction of a reaction. And then Tisha looks down at her lap and says, well, she made it clear, Stormy, that she thought she was being very disrespectful. And then Marsau says he can never go. He says he never went for anybody's gender or talked badly about any woman when it comes to business. And then Tisha says that if it's a difficult, she said it's a difficult position for her to be in because Stormy asked her what what Tisha can do to calm Marsau down. And then they show the clip of Tisha and Stormy talking, and Tisha is glad to agree to calm Marsau down because Stormy asked. She's like, okay, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, Tisha, you looking real messy right now. And I don't like it because Marsau has been running rampant around Huntsville at the mouth real heavy this last few episodes, and you just let him go off. But as soon as Stormy was like, yeah, get your husband his check. Oh, it's no problem, Stormy. The same lady who's been calling said person out his name in both y'all faces multiple times, and you have never said anything. I don't like it. I'm side eyeing the fuck out of you right now, Tisha. Stop embarrassing me, girl, because I've been rooting for you. Stop embarrassing me. Anyways, and then Tisha asked Marsau if there is any point he can stop poking at business owners at business meetings, and he's like, "What you mean by poking?" And Tisha says, "You know what the fuck I mean, fool. I'm talking about that shit you and Stormy was doing." And then Marsau smart ass says, well, the way he looks at it in the retrospect, he would have done it again, and moving forward, he's doing the exact same thing because he doesn't think he did anything wrong. And then Tisha asked him, so he doesn't care if he ends up causing problems between she and the other girls. And Marsau says, honestly, that's not a relationship that he values with Stormy. And she's like, but she likes Stormy. And she kind of shrugs. And he's like, well, you could be friends with her. And I'm just like, Tisha, please be fucking smart right now. Let's be smart. You know, Marsau and Stormy, they were both wrong in these situations, but you have to sometimes look at it in a different perspective. Yes, your husband's messy. I know you're tired of his bullshit, but not Stormy, please. Anybody with Stormy. But then now we're with Kimmy, and she's meeting up with her friend Andrea. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really want to read down all these notes because it wasn't much. Like, they just talked about Kimmy and Maurice struggling with the fact that Kimmy is not feeling like having sex, you know? And I notice that they bring out this Andrea lady a lot when it comes to like sexy time with Kimmy and all her friends. And you know, when it comes to Maurice and all that. Now she was there for Kimmy when she got her hair shaved, you know, when she was starting her treatment or whatever. But I noticed that they just bring her out a lot when Kimmy's talking about the issues with she and Maurice in the bedroom. My coffee, y'all. My bad. But basically the Andrea lady is like, y'all need counseling, y'all need therapy. It's like, no, y'all need therapy and y'all can do like 12 weeks because maybe Maurice just isn't comfortable with sharing certain things with you and he doesn't even realize it. So he need to do his own self-reflecting and then y'all need to do self-reflecting at the same time. And they all for it. She's like, I'll try anything at this point. And then Andrea also suggested the little sexy time photo shoot or whatever. Not just for Maurice because everybody knows he will get a kick out of it. But she's like, Kimmy, you know, it might feel good for you. And in her confessional, Kimmy's like, I don't know, but I'm willing to try anything at this point. And my thing is, Maurice, how many seasons do we have to keep seeing you treat Kimmy like this, and then have to watch her talk about how you complain about not having enough sex because she know you Scott men have wandering eyes. I'm absolutely tired. And Kimmy's like, you know, Maurice thinks it's all mental, and she's like, like he can't tell me that because these doctors are saying that it's really physical, and I know it's physical because like it's draining everything out of me. And she's like, you know, the doctors told her that most of the time they have to prescribe antidepressants for people who are going through chemo and, you know, with breast cancer and stuff. And she's like, you know, I don't know if it's depression, it could be, you know, but at this point, she just wants to try anything to get Maurice off her back. In so many words. But yeah, so Andrea's like, y'all need 12 weeks and y'all need to start ASAP. And that was basically their little part. But now we're with Tisha and Marsau, and they're doing a little promo for this casino night that they're doing at Black, and they're working with a husband and wife duo, and they're like, yeah, we like that, you know, and Marsau's like, her. And then Tisha is trying to pose, and Marsau is coming over there trying to give her all tips and stuff. I'm saying like you gotta flirt like a single lady, and she's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, poor thing. And then the wife who's trying to help, and it's Angela, and I think that's also her manager. She was coming over trying to help Tisha, and Tisha just looks so uncomfortable. And I'm like, Tisha and Marsau don't seem like they had be bumping and grinding at all. At all. And it's just so weird. It's like, you don't, how can you not bring out the sex appeal in your wife, sir? Like, what is that? Your husband is sitting right there, just you can't even think about nothing. Like, okay. And then in her confessional, Tisha says that maybe Marsau needs to help her with the being flirty part since he knows so much. And I'm like, Tisha, how did he bag you? Because she seems so unattracted to him. And he's like, you got to put desire in your eyes. And I was like, oh, is that so, Marsau? Oh, okay. And I mean, like, they do be kind of cute sometimes, but um, and then he's just like, he wants everything lit and all of that for the little casino night. And he's just like, yeah, we want to reach out to some donors and invite some of the people who was at the expo. And Marsau is like, oh, that's a good idea. Now, when they say invite some the people from the expo, please don't tell me you're talking about the core six, the lectures, anybody, because I want no problems. I want no problems. Like, by Destiny. Because I'm trying to think, did Melody even go to the Madani table that was at that Black Expo? Because I feel like people didn't notice that Destiny was there. And I know since I started reviewing the show, I'm like, where's Destiny? Where's Destiny? Because that was my girl. And I know you Melodies are like, oh, fuck Destiny, fuck Tisha, this, that, and the third, I don't give a fuck. But she was the only one who was putting Tiffany in her place, who wasn't taking Melody's shit, and who was kind of like, with Stormy. So I just feel like, let's bring Destiny back. And my whole thing is I know she just didn't want to give any info on like her life, and people are like, well, Destiny, why are you even on the show? I just got some lotion, y'all. People are like, well, Destiny, why are you even on the show for real? And I get it, but I like her. Same for Miss Wanda. I know y'all say she messy. All these mamas is messy. Miss Marlene, Miss Betty, everybody is messy. Everybody except for the Scott brothers' mom. So don't even try it. Um, but yeah, they're basically just like they want to invite some people from the expo to be vendors and all of that stuff. So it is what it is. We just want to see what happens. And now we're just with Marsau, and he said in his confessional at the town hall meeting, Martell seemed a bit animated, so he wanted to check in on him and make sure that he got the right information from Chris and all, and that he didn't embellish too much of what they said. And then they do some small talk or whatever, and Marcel congratulates Martell on how the house and how he saw you at the house or whatever. And Martell's like, yeah, um, Fletch has been harassing him about getting out the house. And Marcel's like, yeah, he calls him Messy Fletch and explains how he and Tisha went to dinner with the Fletchers and how they were just being real messy and misconstrued their conversation. And Martell, he don't even be trying to hide the fact that he knows shit. He was just like looking at him like, yeah, well, I know about all of that. And says that the thing is for him is that if Melody wanted to speak at the expo, she would have done so. So don't make it seem like Marsau is the reason that Melody didn't speak. And as he started to say this, um, he's saying that like Melody is a staple of the community and people know about them. Talk about he and Melody when they was the Holtz. And I guess Marsau can sense Martell is getting pissed because he's just looking like Martell, like calm down, bro. But then he asks Chris, but as he's talking, as Martell is talking, Chris calls him, and Chris is like, "Yeah, well, I'm outside, Shawty was good." And then Martell's like, "Oh, so are you coming in or what?" And Chris is like, "Yeah, but I'm putting the for sale sign in the yard." And Martell is like, "I thought you already sold it. Why you do that? You kicking me out?" And Chris is lying through his teeth, saying, "Well, no, it's not like that. Chris, you can the last 5 episodes since the show came back from break. You talking about how much you want to kick this nigga out this fucking house? What are you saying? No, you didn't say that. Like, bye." Um, But then Martell was like, all right, whatever, man. Like, basically, just come to the door. My bad, y'all. That's my neighbors outside. But the whole time, Chris and Marcel was having this exchange over the phone. Marcel was just making faces, and I'm like, okay. And then in his confessional, Marcel basically says that Chris putting up the sign there doesn't bother him because he's not leaving until he finds a spot, and that Chris be taking the money anyway. He's squatting like hell in that fucking house. Yo, I really wonder who these owners are. And they're like, this nigga is out here getting these checks on this fucking show, and you won't leave my house. What is happening? But then Marcel tells Chris how he was just talking to Martel about the dinner that they had and how the Fletchers misconstrued some of the things. And Chris was like, us, we misconstrued. And then Marcel is explaining his POV, and Martel is like, well, he just feels he and Melody have meaningful advice and things to speak on about in business basically and should be paid for it as such. And then in his confessional, Marcel says that he doesn't like the fact that Marcel is trying to belittle Melody and her business ventures, and specifically says, nigga, if that's the case, then you wouldn't be relevant at all because the majority of the things that he's doing now is because of his platform and his relationship with Martel and Melody. Because if he's not, he's going to be right back at the movie theaters managing that motherfucker. That is exactly what Martel said, getting his ass. He basically like, nigga, don't play with me. You will be right back at the movie theater if me and Melody didn't help y'all asses out. Okay? But Marceau gets he shuts Martel's ass right the fuck up later on, okay? But then Martel is just a sassy little motherfucker. You hear me? That Huntsville, that band be popping out of his ass. But then Marceau basically says that he wants to talk to people who can tell him about their failures as and and their successes and stuff like that. And asked Martel when was the last time he failed or made a mistake when it comes to business or like made a bad decision. And then Martel says, I don't know what you're talking about. That don't make no sense to me. And I feel like he was trying to dismiss the point that Marceau was making because he was making a good point. But that was basically it. And then Marceau says that he has no problem speaking on his bankruptcy and his failures and tells, and then Martel says stop because at one point he didn't want to talk about any of that stuff. And then Marceau didn't start talking about the bankruptcy until Martel did. That's what he's saying. And Marceau was like, that's not true. That's false. He was like, that's false. And in his confessional, Martel says that the thing the things Marceau is saying right now is all new information he's hearing, but he didn't say any of that at the meeting. It says that it seems that it makes him feel that Marceau is full of shit. And then they talk over each other for a bit and all of that. And then Marceau says that Martel is not talking about his ups and downs and failures and another reason why that he wouldn't allow him to speak on the stage or pay him. And then Martel is looking like, nigga, please, what are you saying to me? But then Martel asked if he thought Melody would Martel asked Marceau if he thought Melody would talk about her failures to the audience, like if she would be able to, I guess, be more. I guess he'd be acting like that the whole just don't have no humanity. I guess it's so many words for me. I'm trying to just read my notes that I had, but in so many words, he's like, y'all niggas is not real. Y'all act like everything perfect. Y'all been acting like everything perfect from when y'all was married before. And Tisha did say that. Kimmy did say that. They be acting like, oh, everything's peachy keen. So I kind of get it, but in so many words, that is what Marcel was saying. And then Marcel was like, no, nigga, what are you saying to me? You never did that. And then Marcel was like, Marcel was like, yeah, because I'm talking about my failures. What do you mean? And Marcel was like, yeah, you talked about your failures in marriage specifically. Shut that ass up. And it looks like Martel literally bit his motherfucking tongue like, dang, and you got me. He was like, But in his confessional, Marcel says honestly, where when he and Melody were married, they didn't have any failures and they were always on top. It says that the Scots wanted to be them for real. And then they go back and forth about who helped who with Scold and who put who on, who helped who, with a bunch of nonsense, you know? And then in his confessional, Marceau says that Marcel's tone in his conversation is bringing them back down a road into a conversation that they've had 1,000 times before. And the truth is that he would rather Martel say that he helped them and that he was there for them in a time when he thought they needed it, but says that when they started adding stuff up and the math ain't math, and so Martel might just want to chill out on that. See, he said, don't be talking too much. I'm trying to save you. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. Martel and Marceau do have this thing where they like, all right, when we get into it, we get into it. But I'm not gonna spell all your shit because I don't want you to spell all my shit. I noticed this seasons back, like maybe season 2 or 3, that they just keep each other's shit tight. Because it's like if you want to go there, we can go there. But then Martel is like, boy, you just weren't ever grateful. And Marceau, it says, because he didn't consider it a gift, he thought that they were just doing business together. And then Martel's like, nigga, stop lying. It says that he didn't have to do any of that with him. And then Marceau says that if he thought, if Martel thought that Marceau needed the money, why not just give it to him? Why go into business with him? Because that is a lot more money. And he says because the Skull account was in the negative, and Chris was like, well, why was that? And Marceau says because it was bad business. And then Martel is obviously embarrassed a bit and says, well, he told Marceau in multiple conversations before they even went into business together, that from the jump that he wasn't going to be getting, nitty gritty, getting his hands dirty, doing the actual work with Marceau, like that Marceau will be doing. And then Marceau says that that's absolutely not true and that they were 50-50 and Martel says, yeah, but he told him that they were running out of money, so he just started putting in more and more, basically saying he was doing more than 50%, more than the agreed, verbal agreement, I guess, or contractual agreement. And then Marceau says that's not true and Martel concedes and says, okay, I'm not gonna go back and forth no more with you. And Marceau is like, okay, fine. But then they do end up getting back into it and about who gave who the most and how they have been giving each other shit. And then Marceau asks Martel if he's ever asked Martel for money. And Martel was like, I don't know, you tell me. But then Marceau was like, have you, Martel, ever asked me for money? Or he was like, Martel, have I ever given you a loan? And Martel just doesn't have a quick comeback for that. And then he goes back and forth about who loaned who what, and obviously Martel is lying. You could just tell that he was lying because he was talking too quick. He would look him in the eye like, yeah. In his confessional, Marceau says that Martel is lying through his teeth about who's done what for who. It says that he didn't even tell Tisha. He helped Martel out because, he just was like, I'm trying to help out a friend. So he feels like Martel should just hush and stop talking too much, because he trying to make it seem like the Scots are out here just not paying their due, not paying what they owe, but it's Martel out here running his mouth too much. And he always do that. He be forgetting, he be forgetting. His head so far up his ass, he be forgetting the type of shit that be going down. Because he's gonna forget years down the line that Chris let him stay in this house for 3 years. After they wanted to sell it, it's been sold back and forth. He gonna forget. But then Chris says that y'all gonna be arguing all day and to just chill out. And then Marcel invites him to the casino night then. And now we're with Melody. And Melody and Keke are catching up and they meet up. And she says she wasn't sure Keke was coming because she didn't make it to the baby reveal because she knows how she and Tiffany are. And Kiki's like, oh, she wanted to show her face. She isn't one of the ones to back down or whatever. And Melody was like, okay, you say so. And then they talk about Keke being sick. And then in the hospital, and Kiki's like, but she was in the hospital, but she's better now. And Mel tells Keke about the little town hall thing and how the tension was thick between Marsau and Stormy. And Keke was like, really? For real? And Keke says that she heard about the whole $100 thing and all of that and how Marsau was being cheap, but that was the extent of it. And then Melody says that she doesn't understand how two multimillionaires have some beef over $100. And again, I get it, but the energy was just all wrong, all wrong. And obviously, I feel like just Stormy just didn't want to be there, but it is what it is. And then Keke says that Marsau basically thinks that he's the smartest person in the room all the time, and when he's saying shit like that, he thinks that you don't understand his little smart ass remarks and comments. And then Keke says that the Marsau before a taste of money and fame was a little different, and that he will joke at other people's expense, but when the joke is on him, it's not so funny. And then Melody asks if Keke and Tisha are at least in a better space a little bit. And Keke says that she thought so, but lately it seems that they have been moving backwards and that there's rumors that Marsau and somebody whose name that they bleep out that she says had an affair. And Melody is gasping all surprised. Look at her. And then Keke is basically explaining how Marsau allegedly had a threesome with this person and another lady after meeting them at the club. And then it says to be continued, child. So again, like the title says, why does Keke know everybody else's business, but she can't explain why she been in a fucking hospital? She been sick. And the husband is like, oh no, I know the signs now. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. Why she on everybody else's TV, but she can't explain to us what's really been going on in the hospital. But I know there's an episode coming on tonight, so make sure y'all enjoy that, and I'll see y'all with another review. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye.